Why is healthcare so damn expensive in the United States? Well, it could be because of things like this. And I was thinking about this because my wife was into it because women like the royalty thing for whatever reason. I don't get it. But anyway, back a few days ago, 3 days ago, I think it was the Duchess of Cambridge had her third baby. And if you're royalty, by the way, you spit babies out. That's your job, right? You got to have an heir to the throne. And so the reporters are outside the Lindo wing is what it's called. So this maternity ward in London that the royals use when they have the royal birth, they even have a wine list for celebrating parents. Not just a bottle of wine or champagne, a wine list. So what would it cost to deliver a new baby prince? And would you be surprised to learn that the delivery of baby prince costs substantially less than me or you, or our wives, I guess, having a baby here in the United States? I mean, we don't even have the wine list. How about that? Joining me to help make sense of it this morning and cut through the BS is Seth Denson, a health industry expert with GPAD Advisors. Thanks again for coming on, Seth. Always good to have you. How are you?
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, appreciate it. So how much did it cost them? How much does it cost a regular family in the U.S. to have a typical non-C-section childbirth?
You know, the costs state by state vary. Matter of fact, in Ohio, where you are, it's actually one of the lowest cost states in the union. However, overall in the United States, we're talking for a normal vaginal birth about $30,000 and for a C-section north of $50,000.
50. So why are the Royals getting it for like $9,000? Do they get like they have Groupon?
Well, so you've got to understand that there's a lot of government control of the healthcare system in the United Kingdom. Matter of fact, if the royal family, and likely this wouldn't have happened. By the way, I have to say, sidebar, Marblehead, good name. I think it might work, right?
I don't know what to call what's the kid's name.
They haven't named the child yet to my knowledge, but I think Marblehead might work. Anyway.
Well, they have I don't know, they have the guy with the horn dressed like a beefeater, and he goes, the royal Marblehead is born. And then he comes out later going, Le Royal Placenta.
There you go. We digress. But regardless, in the United Kingdom, you have a lot of government control of the healthcare system itself. So for a normal, just run-of-the-mill labor and delivery in any everyday hospital in the United Kingdom, the cost to the parent is actually nothing. The government picks up the entire tab. But if you want to go to one of these more exclusive wings, like this Leo wing or whatever it's called, that's when you're going to see about $8,900. So when you have the government controlling the pricing structure because they're footing the bill, you're able to keep costs down and more in control.
Isn't that the exact opposite how it works in America? Because if the government's in control of something here, it's going to cost 11 billion times more than it should in the free market.
You know, it is, and that's the sad state of where we are. You know, we've got regulations on just about everything in the United States, but healthcare itself really isn't regulated. And I think I've said this on your show before. I'm not in favor of the federal government getting involved in the business transaction of healthcare, price fixing, or managing it. The problem is it's healthcare run amok, and we have this conflict of capitalism and care where hospitals have the ability to charge really whatever they want. And unfortunately, we as the American consumer think that the insurance company is picking up the tab, when in reality, the insurance company is just financing the tab over time for us. And so that reflects back on us in health insurance premiums and raised deductibles, and it's just this system. So while I think the federal government should stay out of health care from a regulatory standpoint, I think much like they regulate the roads, they should regulate speed limits and require hospitals to be transparent as to what they're charging. Most people don't know that the hospital's billing the insurance company $50,000 for a C-section. If we knew that, we might hold the hospitals to a bit of a different standard, at least get a better wine list.
It's a good scam. Yeah, it's a good scam because, it's like, I don't see the bill. How many people get a bill from a hospital or doctor, whatever, and they see what the actual cost is? They just look at the copay and they go, okay, I owe like $800. Okay, good.
Very little. You're absolutely right. I mean, we may get the bill and we get something from the insurance company called an EOB, which is an explanation of benefits. But both the hospital and the insurance companies are very careful at how they word those, so they're so confusing. Nobody can really understand them. Listen, I've been in this business for 20 years.
Yeah.
When I get an EOB in the mail, I even look at it and feel like I need a quantum physics degree to read the thing, right? And that's intentional because it keeps us in the dark. We don't understand it, therefore we won't question it.
Yeah, medical billing and coding is a whole career, so you can learn to speak the code so you know what's really going on there. Seth Denson with GDP Advisors, he's a healthcare industry expert. So why does it cost $9,000 for a high-end delivery in the UK if you're a royal and you've got a wine list, and yet in the United States of America it's like $30,000 or $50,000 for a C-section? It's absurd. You're saying take the government. The solution is get the government out of it, privatize it?
I'm saying keep it privatized, but what I am saying the government needs to do, just like they do on roads, is put some speed limits on this thing. And what I mean by that is require the hospitals and provider systems to be more transparent in how they provide their charges and how they structure things. So I used this as an example the other day. I can go buy a car that will allow me to drive 200,000 or 200 miles an hour, but the government's not going to let me drive 200 miles an hour down the highway, right? So in the same manner, when it comes to health care, the government should regulate. They should be in there and saying, hey, you can charge what you want, but you got to tell people what you're going to charge before you have the services rendered, so they can maybe shop this thing and find out if there's a better alternative for them.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because where else do we buy something without doing research into how much something costs? Isn't that's the beauty of the interwebs, right? Is that I can go on and I can go to Amazon or whatever to find the lowest price for something. You really don't do that when it comes to hospitals.
That's right. You don't. And the sad thing is, this is another statistic I think it would be eye-opening for Americans if they realized it. In the United Kingdom, where it's $8,900 for the wine list and baby, you know, the mortality rate of the mother is 65% lower in Great Britain than it is in the United States, and the mortality rate for children is 46% lower there. And so when we really start to dive in the quality of care versus the price of care, we have a long way to go here in the United States.
Good
and it's
God.
time we step up and start demanding more.
Well, 46 behind that's insane, Seth. And you know, we think we're the most developed nation on earth, and yet the statistics, at least in this category, don't indicate that at all. The system really needs to be blown up, it sounds like.
It really does. I mean, and in the United Kingdom, well, because of the government control and regulation on the system, you got doctors that have to follow certain protocols and procedures, where here in the United States we have, and you talked about this a little bit in your last segment, a little bit of a Superman doctor complex, that they're really not questioned or regulated. And we as consumers, we as the American public, feel like we're uneducated enough to even question things from our doctors. And this isn't to demonize the doctor community. I think that the vast majority of doctors throughout the United States are phenomenal groups of people that want to do well, but it's that old saying, a few bad apples spoil the whole batch.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, doctors, surgeons, especially extremely smart and brilliant people, we need them, absolutely. But it's the middleman, and a lot of surgeons, and I've talked about, direct pay healthcare. I had those guys on my show, too. Same thing. It's a lot cheaper if you just pay them out of your pocket and cut the insurance out, maybe make a deal with your employer saying, hey, listen, I'm not going to take your health insurance. Why don't you give me a couple extra $1,000 a year? We'll call it even. And it's really becoming a thing. Seth Denson with GDP Advisors, thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it.